no, but I'm just trying to get myself.
You want me to start with parents, where they were born?
Okay, what can you tell us about your parents?
Well, my parents, my mother was born in Ireland, and my father was born in England. They were married, and he had a job in the brickworks in England, and his wages in those days were 7 and sixpence. He was a boss, and he left there and got a job in Scotland, and in a brickworks in Scotland. They were 10 and sixpence. We had he had 4 boys, and they were all born in Scotland. They saved up enough money to come out to Queensland. We arrived in Brisbane 1911. I was 2 when we arrived in Brisbane. We came out in a boat called the Trilla, and brought a lot of migrants out, or new chums, would call them what you like, and our first home was down behind Indooroopilly School. My eldest brother was 16 and a half, going on 17. The war was looking bad in those days, so he decided to enlist. And we knew nothing at this particular day or moment, and he came home. He was away for 3 days. He came home in a uniform, an army uniform, and we asked him why he did it. He says, well, he says, I have not got a job, and he says, I'm going to fight for Australia, which he did. And as this was, I was growing up, and
Did he survive the war?
Beg pardon?
Did he survive the war?
He survived the war, yes. He came back, and in the meantime, the father and mother had saved up £100, and they bought 8 acres in Finney Road. They built a house, which is still there, and he sold a piece of ground next door, and I was growing up, and I played around in the bush there, went down the creek and caught lobbies, and cooked them and ate them, and 5 come along, and I was told I had to go to school. So I made a hell of a noise about it. I wasn't going. And when I got to school, my mother took me up to school, and when I got there I found out it wasn't too bad after all. Other kids to play with, and I was doing all right at school, and I had a bit of a fight with some kids and got into trouble here and there, and I stood up for myself and give other kids a bit of a belting, the same as I got. And 6 come along, and my brother next to me got a job in Thomas Brown's as a shirt cutter. He was there for about 35 years, I believe, or around about that time. My mother and father says to me, now I've got to start to work. But I'm going to school, I said. They says, we don't mean that. You've got to chop wood, get the cows in, get the horses in.
Were you living on a farm?
No. And I had to chop up a round tub full of wood every night or every afternoon from school. I had to go and look for the blooming cows. One was here, one was somewhere else. Anyway, I used to round them up every night, and the horses used to come home. And We finished up with 7 horses and 5 cows. I had a pony, that made the 7th. And nice little thing she was. And I still had to work, and I was growing up, getting towards 7, and the elder I grew, the harder the work I got. And I didn't like schooling. I used to get the cuts too often.
What did you get up to deserve that?
Oh, fighting with other kids.
You didn't wag school?
Oh, I was coming to that. Anyway, I got 6 cuts one day, and that was the end of it. I wagged school twice a week, and I used to go home for me lunch. Mother used to say, "You been to school?" "Yes, Mum." Or "Yes, Ma," we used to call her. "You sure?" "Yes." And I get a clip in the ear, bloody ear for telling lies. Anyway, I'd have me lunch, and I used to go back to school. I used to go some afternoons, and I was doing all right at school, and I used to learn my lessons. I'm sure I really did, and I was coming all right. And the headmaster, old Jackson, came down one day, and he says to my mother, he says, "Willie hasn't been to school this last 2 days. Where's he been?" And she called me up to front him, and I admitted that I'd played the wag, and he says, "Where did you go?" I says, "I went round the river fishing." And he said, "You're a naughty boy." I said, "Yes, I know." I said, "But I don't like cuts." And he says, "You come to school tomorrow." He says, "You won't get any more." So I went to school, and as time went on, I was doing all right at school, and I started to get into trouble again with other bloody kids. It wasn't really my fault, to tell you the truth. And I got more cuts, and that was the end of it. I went to school again, and I used to get into more trouble, and any kids looked sideways at me, I used to give them a belt in the ear, or try to. And I started to smoke. I used to smoke dry tea leaves. And I went from there to lantana roots, which are a good smoke, a bit strong, burnt the end of my tongue.
Poisonous.
Mm?
Isn't lantana poisonous?
No, not the root, no. And I graduated from there onto the old man's tobacco. Oh, it was that strong. He used to smoke a pipe. And he noticed his tobacco going down. He asked me, did I take it? And I said, no, I got a belt in the ear for telling lies. And as time went on, I was getting a 9 or 10, and still went to school, still getting horses, still chopping wood. My sister come along in the meantime, and between getting the horses, chopping wood and looking after her, my day's work was full. She was a bit of a whinger when she was a baby. And I had to nurse her and all this sort of thing, and rock her in a rocker and keep her quiet. And the old man got a new job. He got a job with a gas company. He was there for about 35 years, I think. And he retired, and I was getting on to 13, and I thought, bugger school. So I left, and I walked into town, and I was looking around the factories for a job. And I went to Carrick's in Saul Street. And I asked the girl behind the counter, could I speak to the manager? She said, certainly. So she went into his office, and she says, there's a young man out here who wished to speak to you, Mr. Laurie. That was his name. And he says, yes, what can I do for you? I said to him, I want a job. He said, you want a job, do you? I said, yes. He said, what do you want to do? I says, I want to be like my eldest brother, French polisher. Oh, and where did he work? I says, Laycocks and Little Dykes. He says, why didn't you go there for a job? And I says, I haven't been around there yet. Oh, he says, you know where they are? I says, I think so. So he says, you needn't bother going around there. He says, I'll give you a job here in the chair room as a floor boy. If you don't know what a floor boy is, I'll tell you. It's, I had to make glue for 9 chair makers. I had to get them their morning drink of water in their billy cans, and 11:30 I used to collect all their billies, empty the water out, put tea and sugar in them, and go down to the engine room and fill 11 billy cans of water up 3 flights of steps for their dinner. And I have my own dinner there sometimes when I took it, and after lunch I had to sweep this floor up. It was a huge floor, and I had to get stain for the stainer. He used to stain the chairs. I had to go down to the storeroom for that. And in the meantime I had to go down to the engine room and get chair legs, chair backs, chair seats on a big trolley. It used to hold a gross at a time. Of course they were all in pieces, you know. And in the meantime, when I wasn't doing that, I used to sweep the floor up underneath their benches, empty their billies out, go down and get their afternoon water, and we had a place where they used to urine in there, in the corner. I had to clean that out twice a day, phenyl it and all that sort of thing. And by time to knock off, I just about had it. So anyway, I was there for quite a while. For 7 and 6pence a week, it wasn't much money. So the first pay I got, I took it home and I lost it, which I really did. I'll tell you the truth. I didn't spend it. I didn't have it. I used to give my mother, well, she took it 5 shillings a week, left me at 2 and 6pence. And I used to go down the train and catch a train. I used to get Workers' Weekly, a shilling, and I'd have 1 6 pocket money. A lot of money those days. And I was there for quite a while, as I said, and my father knew a chap named Atwell, and he worked at Parling's, a piano polisher. So he says to this Harold Atwell, I should say, do you want any boys there to learn the piano polishing? And my father was telling me this. He says, I don't really know, but he says, I'll see Mr. Peck in the morning. And Mr. Peck was a foreman in Parling's workshop. So my father saw this Harold that night coming home, and he says, yes, send your lad in tomorrow morning into Parling's, into Parling's workshop in Burnett Lane. Well, I didn't know where Burnett Lane was. So anyway, I found it. I asked the policeman on the corner. So I found Parling's workshop and went up 3 flights of stairs there, and I found this Mr. Peck, and I told him who I was, and Mr. Atwell told me to come in, and Mr. Peck says, oh, when can you start? I says, now. Oh, he says, you can't start now, you've got no lunch. So he says, start in the morning. So I started in the morning. I had an afternoon walking around the town and got the train home. And I told my father and mother, and they seemed to be happy about it. So I was there, and I served my apprenticeship there. I was there about 10 years, I think it was. the Depression broke out. And me being single, I was put off. And no work in sight anywhere. Everybody was out of work at the time.
Do you remember what year this was?
1924. And I came out of my time in 1925. And I was in there till just on 1930, I think it was.
How long was the apprenticeship for?
5 years.
And what about your brothers? Where were they
Oh,
at?
let's just keep going.
Mm?
Yeah, what happened when you got out of work?
You want about my brothers or?
No.
No. So anyway, I couldn't find a job anywhere. So I didn't hang around Brisbane anywhere. I packed a bag and I carried my swag, another chap and I. And we hit Bankstown.
How old were you?
Hmm?
How old were you?
How old was I? Just on 21. Or going on 22, I just forget right. And I was in the square in Bankstown there next to the electric railway line. That was the end of the electric trains from Sydney. That was the terminus line. But I believe they go out further now. So anyway, I was sitting on this seat with my swag, and the young lad came up to me and started talking to me. He asked me where I was from, my name, and all this sort of thing. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm looking for work." He says, "Gee whiz," he says, "you won't find any work down here." He says, "Dad's out of work." He says, "My eldest brother's out of work." He says, "I'm out of work." And I said, "Oh, well, I'll go out west." So he says, "I'll come with you." So he says, "You better come up home for the night." So when I got up home, they was only in a small house. Good, I thought to myself, how did they all get in here? So when I looked around here, there was beds on the floor. An old bloke, I don't know who he was sleeping on the veranda. And I said to Owen Wilson was his name. I said to Owen, I can't sleep in here. I says, "No room." He says, "No, Bill," he says, "Mum and Dad says you can sleep out in the fowl house, the pair of us." So we rigged up a sort of a bed out in the fowl house. So the pair of us slept out there, and I was up at daybreak in the morning. I couldn't sleep there. And he was still sleeping, and I woke him up. He says, "What time is it?" I said, "I'm blowed if I know." So this was about 8 o'clock. So we went in there into the house, and they were all sitting around the table, and I had a cup of tea, and he had a cup of tea and a piece of bread and jam. Only the one piece though, that's all we got. And Mr. Wilson, Owen's father, and Mrs. Wilson says, "What are you going to do now, Bill?" I says, "I'm going to get onto Liverpool Road and go out west." And Owen says, "I'm going with him too, Dad and Mum." And I says, "Oh, well, if you want to go, you go. Experience." And I was out there for quite a while. We all had jobs. We both had jobs around farms. And both of us worked for a German. He didn't like working for a German. So he left and I carried on. So he said, "Do you mind if I leave?" I said, "No." So he left and he went back to Sydney. And I carried on working for this German. 12 shillings a week I got in me food. When they went to town, they used to buy me a hat or a pair of sand shoes or buy me a packet of tobacco, which I appreciated, you know. And I was there for a while, saved me pennies up. And he got me behind the woodshed one day. I had to saw wood there and chop it in blocks. And by Jove, did they feed me. And grew all our own vegetables. He was a vegetable market, and he used to sell fruit on the side of the stalls, on the side of the road rather. And he was making a ton of money, 7 days a week. 6 days a week I worked, went to church on a Sunday. He asked me my religion, I told him. He said, oh, you're no blooming good, you're not going to our church. So I said, what are you? And he told me. And I didn't go to church, so I laid in my bed all day and lit the fire at night time, and she came home and we had tea, and I'd go back to bed. Up early in the morning, start work about 7, have a big breakfast, knocked off at dinner time around about 11:30, another big meal, and his daughter was knocking around the farm. He told me not to have anything to do with her. If you do, he says, I'll bury you under. I don't know what he meant by that, but I think it's a pretty good idea. So I came away with about £20. That was a lot of money. So I came back and went out to Leeton. And I got a general job in a jam factory there. Well, I was in a factory, big digging trenches about a foot deep, and I used to build this soil up above the stretcher, made about 18 inches deep. And I used to run water in between the trees, and it used to soak the irrigation sort of business. And I was getting on pretty good there. I went from there into the factory, soldering jam tins. They just never had tins, machines those days, just to solder up the side of the tins.
Can I just stop that for a second? Okay, you're out at Lytton.
I was at
Yeah, the jam factory.
and the boss come along and he says, how would you like a job in the factory? I says, anything you'll do, as long as it's money. And he said, could you use a soldering iron? I says, no, I can't, but I'll soon learn. And he says, you're the boy for me. And he gave me another chap. He gave me to another chap, and he showed me what to do, and I picked it up pretty smartly. And I was there quite a while. And I left there and I went out to Miles, Taree, and anyway, I picked up another chap at Taree, and he was out of work, and he says, I'm going out to Burke. He says, you'd like to come along? He says, you got any money? I says, no, I got no bloody money, I said. I had £35 there. I didn't tell him. He said, oh, we'll have to hitchhike it and get a bum a ride. So we got out to Burke, and it opened my eyes out there. They had camel teams and about 15 camels in each team, and the wheels, I could walk through them. They carrying wool from different parts of the rail. And there's no motor vehicles out there. If there were, they wouldn't, mostly small cars, they wouldn't pull the wool or anything like that. So anyway, I was out there in the flies. I got sick of it, so I came back to Sydney. So I come back to Sydney. I went and seen Wilson's, told them how I got on, and I had 3 days there, sleeping in a fowl house. And I went to Sydney and bought a ticket home to Brisbane on the Canberra. Anyway, got home to Brisbane and in the meantime I was writing to my parents and I told him what I was doing and told my father what I was doing, and he met me at the house, Smith Wharf, where this Canberra pulled in. So he said, "You got any money?" I said, "No." So he put his hand in his pocket and gave me 10 bob and me fare home. So when I got home, mother got a bit of a surprise, my sister got a surprise, and I was still out of work. And I went up to Mount Cootha one day to look around, and walked up, and I was talking to a chap up there, and he asked me, was I working? I said, "No." "Oh," he says, "you should have been here about 3 weeks ago." He says, "We couldn't get labour. They were building the kiosk and that sort of thing." So he says, "I'm going to build aviaries right down here." He says, "I'll give you $3 a week if you like to give me a hand." So anyway, I says, "Yes, that'll do me." He says, "Where are you living?" I says, "In Rapilli." So he says, "How are you getting home?" I says, "Walk." "Oh, drive a car?" "No." "Ride a motorbike?" "No." "Ride a horse?" "Yes." He says, "I haven't got one." So he he says, "How can you get here in the morning?" "About 8 o'clock." "Oh," I said, "I don't know, I mightn't be here at 8 o'clock." He says, "Get here as early as you can." So I got up there as early as I can, around about 9 o'clock, 9:30, something like that. So I met her, and she met me at the door. Oh, she said, "Better come and have a cup of tea, Bill." And he came in, and he sat down to his cup of tea and half a dozen scones and all that sort of thing. And he says to me, "Can you use a pick and a shovel?" "As good as you," I said. "Oh, you're the boy I want." So anyway, I was working there for a long time. $3 a week or through 30 shillings a week. And I started to buy some clothes and that. I finished up there, living up there 3 or 4 nights a week and come home for a change of clothes.
How old were you now?
How old was I? 24. Get around for 24. And I knew the other waitresses and all that sort of thing. And his brother and his wife and her brother and her sisters. And they made me quite welcome. So anyway, they run out of staff. So anyway, who should come up there was a girl named Doreen Williams. So anyway, I got talking to her, serving behind the counter for Sunday. That was my job. And he come there occasionally when they were busy. And we got real pally, and she a bad-tempered bugger she was. Anyway, we got on together all right. I bought a motorbike and rode up from Indooroopilly down again, and picked her up at the tram terminus and drove up the hill. Oh, I got on all right, and got married after a while. Everybody was sour, and I didn't go back to Mount Cootha after that. So lived at home for about a fortnight or 3 weeks, something like that, wasn't it?
6 months.
6 months?
Yes.
Oh, that's longer than I thought. So anyway, I got on the relief when I left Mount Cootha, and there was a house up the road and for 7 and 6 a week. Got on the relief, just the wife and I. No, wife and one son. That was the eldest son. Uh, got on the reef a day and a half, a pound and threepence. Feed the eldest son and the wife, myself, and paid rent out of that. Oh, bugger this, I thought I grew vegetables. Oh, vegetables was coming out of my ears. And some of the neighbours used to come along and buy beetroot or tomatoes or something like that. There was a bloke named Haggerty. He was a fruiter along the road and he used to come and buy vegetables, lettuce and cucumbers and beetroot, marrows. And I was on the reef for a couple of years or 3 years. And this time, when I was on the reef, I was working at a police school, excavating underneath, right through, about 8 foot. And got a job with the public works then, off the school, turning one wing of the building around. It's still there today. And after that was finished, I was on the relief again. And in the meantime, business was picking up. So the foreman from Parling's workshop came out one day and he went home and asked my wife where I was working. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And she said, down in the police school. So he came down. He said, what the hell are you doing here? I said, can't you see you're picking a shovel, you bloody blind bat, you? He says, come on, throw it away. And he says, come work with me. I said, where are we going? He says, back to your bench. I says, you beaut. So I went home and I said, I'll have to have a shave. He said, yeah. Don't forget a bath either. I was pretty grubby. So I had them shave in a bath and pack me bags with a few tools and hammer, screwdrivers. Went in there and I was there for, about 8, 9 years, I think it was.
So how old were you when you went back to polishing?
Polishing? Oh, Christ, Ross. about 33 weren't I, Mum? How was Colin?
24 when you got married.
25. 5th of October 1925. And, I couldn't tell you, I just forget now, Ross. Anyway, they got slack again. So anyway, I knew the foreman in Grice's piano polishing. I says, Les Much was his name. I says, we're going down the hill there again. He says, yes, I know. He says, the prices are too high. So he says, you better come in here when you get the sack. So I says, there's a job there. He says, yes. So I says to Mr. Bryant, I says, I can get a job next door. He says, well, you better take it, Bill, in case somebody else gets it. He says, we're going downhill fast. So he says, I'll ring Les up and tell him. So I went in there next morning. Instead of going to the Parlings, I went in there and got my unemployment book from Parlings. I went in there and got them. Gave them to Mr. Much and in a crisis. And I was there for 7 years, I think it was. And in the meantime, I start to pick up, get a few bob, get a house, and bought a ticket in the casket occasionally. I won $10. I thought, geez, I bought that dining room suite for £11. I put a pound to it and bought that dining room suite. And as time went on, I bought a bedroom suite. Time went on, Billy come along. I didn't buy him. And as we got on, we furnished the place out, and Ronnie come around, and then Shelley come along, then Leslie come along. Got on my feet a bit more, shifted from one house to the other in the meantime, bought a piece of ground over in Finney Road. I give 120 for it. I saved me pennies, and Colin got asthma. And in the meantime, Colin got asthma. And took him to, I'm getting my words mixed up a bit now, took him to Dr. Earnshaw twice a week or 3 times a week, Mum?
3 times a week.
3 times a week. I had 90 quid, 90 pounds. And I was going to get a house built on a deposit. And of course he ripped the £90 off me. Rather get the house up, put it on to him. So we didn't get that house in Finney Road. So I sold the house in Finney Road. I sold the house, land in Finney Road rather, and saved me pennies up again. And I found out about a house for sale in Station Road. So I knew the people that owned that, and I went down and told them. Asked them if they sell it to me. They said, yes. They said, we want £900 cash. Oh, I said, good God. I said, I haven't got £900, but that's what we want. I says, will you hang on to it for me? I says, I'm getting a new job. Grices is going slack. And I says, I've got about £120 now. I says, Grices are going slack. And I got my name down in the fire brigade. So about a fortnight or 3 weeks after that, I got a letter from the fire brigade. One from the army and one from the coroner on the court, is it? The bloke who issues warrants to join the jury.
Oh, the bailiff.
The bailiff. Anyway, I back at the jury, back at the army, so I went to the fire brigade. And I seen the second officer, Mackenzie, told him the story. He says, forget them. He says, I'll get you off both of those. I says, thanks very much. He says, can you have an examination now? I says, I might be a bit grubby around the arms. He says, that's all right. He said, the doctor will be examining you, not me. So I had my examination there by the doctor, passed me pencil and paper examination, and I started 2 days after that. And I went back Saturday morning down to Faraday's and says, I'll have that house. And in the meantime, I had a chap named, he was a sales T&G representative. I got in touch with him through the fire brigade, through this Mr. Mackenzie, and I told him the story. He says, Mr. Veal is in the dormitory at the moment. So he went in and called out this Mr. Veal, took me into his office and explained the position to him about me. And he got me insured by the T&G for £1,000. $900 to buy the house and $1,000 to boot along with. And then I never looked back. I was in the fire brigade, what's it, 33 years, is it, Mum?
I think so.
33 years, 10 months or something.
So how old were you when you joined the fire brigade?
Oh, Jesus, Jonas Ross. It'll tell you up there, Mum.
You joined the fire brigade in 1942
1942.
and you come out in 1974.
Doesn't tell you how long underneath there.
No, well you just have to take out
32 years.
32 years.
32 years, 10 months, I think it was.
Yeah. You joined on the 11th of the 2nd, 42 and you retired the 29th of the 10th, 74.
And you fought some big fires in that time?
My word. We had Baker's and Eagle Lane. Has it got this going? Baker's and Eagle Lane going, paint shop, storerooms, Thomas Brown's, had Brett's over in South Brisbane, had Patterson's at Toowong. That was a hot bugger.
What happened there?
After who?
What happened?
At Patterson's.
Patterson's.
Yeah. How did it start?
How did it start? Oh, nobody knows, Graham. Ross.
How long did it take you to put it out?
Oh, I was there from the 6 o'clock night shift. I was there from about 10 past 6 till about 10 past 9 next morning. I was relieved by the next shift. And I was there, they were damping down for about 3 days. She was hot, that bucket, I can tell you. And gets back to work, got changed and come home. And cleaned me gear up when we got to work. It was all dirty, filthy. And 2 days after that, we had a big fire in Glen Issa Road, Salvation Army Home for men. There's three bodies lost in that. They were all burnt from the feet up to the hips. It's a bad sight. Some poor bugs. I'll never forget that.
Did you have to get them out?
No, it was ground level. And that was all right. So, in the meantime, the war was going and we had to turn out to the wharf. Nixon Smith's Wharf, I think it was, near the Custom House. Turned out to a barge on fire. We went down there and the Australian soldiers had loaded this barge up full of supplies to take them over to Bribey. I don't know whatever for, there was a bridge across Bribey. And one chap had lit up a cigarette and that was the end of the barge. And then the end of four soldiers. We pulled one out of the river. When we pulled him out, he was brown as a berry. And when we sat him down on the wharf, his skin fell off. Oh, geez, he was in a hell of a mess. Smell, I can still taste it. And he died. The three of them died out of 4 died. And, that was the only big fires I had. Of course, a little house fires, they're not big. They're not, nothing, house fire. What else do you want to know?
When did you buy a new car?
When? No, I didn't buy a car. It was a Whippet utility I bought. When did I buy it?
When did you buy it? Like what year? Or how old were you?
Oh, that was after I started the fire brigade. Oh, a 1926 model it was. Oh, I suppose around about 1930, 34 or something like that, 35.
And how much was it?
How much?
Mm.
£60.
Gee, a bit more expensive now.
Hmm?
You're a bit more expensive now.
Yes. So I drove it to Wong 2 or 3 times. Colin and Billy used to come down on their bikes to get a ride home for night time. So I had it there one night, and chap came along and he says to my mate, he says, "Who owns the utility?" He says, "Me mate inside." And he came in, chap named Jim Ward was. He came in and he says, "Tiny," they used to call me Tiny, I was big then. And he says, "You want to sell your truck?" I says, "No." I says, "If I was going to sell it, how much do you reckon it'd be worth?" "Oh," he says, "you spent a few bob on it, haven't you?" I says, "Oh, yes." He says, I said, "Not much." I says, he says, "I asked him £140 on it." He says, "Bugger 'em." So I says, "You own this?" I says, "Yes." He says, "Got the receipts for it?" I said, "Of course I got receipts for it." He said, Can you produce them?" I says, "I haven't got them on me." I says, "They're home." "You owe anything on it?" I said, No, of course I don't." So he said, "How much you want for it?" I said, 140. He says, "I'll give you 135 for it." He says, "We're looking for a thing like this." He says, "We're both going in painting." So he looked around and kicked all the tyres. It's 2 new tyres on the back, and the fronts were retread. I didn't put them, they were on when I bought it. So they came out and next morning, and they bought it. I sold them like a bloody fool.
Why did your parents actually come to Australia?
Pardon?
Why did your parents come out to Australia in the beginning?
New life.
They had enough of England?
Work. Came out here to work. There was no work over there. Well, that's what they told me.
What were their names?
Hmm?
What were their names?
What was their name? Well, you should ask me this first. Well, his name was Clarkson.
Who, Clarkson? No, Christian name.
Bill. His name was Bill, William. And my mother's name was Mary Jane.
What happened to your brothers and your sister?
Well, the eldest brother went to the war. He came back and he got a job with the council. He had one boy, and my eldest brother was out of work. He worked at, well, he wasn't out of work, there was a strike on. He worked at Laycock's Little Dyke, that was a French polisher. He knew the people down on the, had worked to hand the horse vehicle, the ferry on the river. So he gave my brother 3 days work on the ferry. The 3rd day he fell off and was drowned. And my other brother, because he married, and he died about 7 or 8 years ago, was it, Mum?
No, 18 years ago.
18?
Yeah, I was in
geez.
Sydney when Samantha was born. 19 years this October.
John?
Yeah,
God, time flies.
yeah, I was in Sydney with Jan, waiting for Samantha.
What about your parents? When did they die?
Well,
Grandma, 49 years,
she'd be dead 49 years.
and Ronnie's been married 22 years. Grandpa's been dead
We went down to Sydney to Ronnie's wedding the day we was buried.
After the funeral.
They lived in Sydney, did they?
No, Ronnie was in the Navy then, and he was married Jan at I forget the name of the place. Up you could overlook the
Watson's Bay
Watson Bay
Chapel.
Chapel. You could overlook the harbour.
And Auntie Mary's been dead 4 years this year.
Okay.
When I was at the station at Toowong, we turned out to a car fire town side of Channel 2. Town side of Channel O station. And when we got there, the car turned on the side, and all we found in the back seat was a skeleton of some poor devil being burnt to pieces. He was killed by a post telecom or a post employer that hit him on the back of the head with a lump of wood. Run the car down the hill, capsized it on its side and threw petrol over it and put a match to it. They caught him about 3 days afterwards. Several car fires and things like that. It's not worth worrying about.
In Sydney for the opening of the bridge.
The which?
Sydney for the opening of the bridge.
The opening of the bridge in Sydney?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that bit. Oh, that was in September. What dates? I just forget. 3 days before I came home. They opened the bridge in Sydney. I was on the south end of it. When Mr. de Groot raced up on his horse and slashed the ribbon with his sword. Old Jack Lang's supposed to open it up. He still opened it up, but he didn't cut any ribbon. They caught him, and I don't know what happened to him. It was very exciting. The people, I've never seen such a crowd in all my life. Oh, good old days they were.
Not so good now?
Eh?
Not so good now?
Oh dear. You'd be on clover those days. There was no dole those days, you had to work for it.
Well, that means it's better now, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is. Well, they say that they weren't good at all, Carol, if you know what I mean. They say the good old days, but they're just reversing it. Now, to get 7 and 6 worth of groceries, when I lived with my parents, I had to walk to Bald Hills, to Ipswich, or to Bow Desert.
Walk.
Well, get there the best way I can. So I said to the chap in the Treasury building to get me slips of paper, how am I going to get there? He says, if you haven't got a horse and cart or you push bike, he says, you walk.
So how did you get there?
I didn't get there. I didn't get in, collect any of them. No.
Okay, tell us about your parents.
Well, my mother's name was Flora Elizabeth Burton. No, Valentine. She was born in the Normanby Hotel.
In the hotel?
Oh yes, all her family were publicans, all Burtons publicans. She was born at the Normanby Hotel. I was born at a station out of Charleville called Wallal Station. And mother was born in Brisbane, my father was born in Brisbane, and he was caretaker of Cremorne Theatre. That's where the culture theatre all is now, over the south side. There used to be a cottage at the back of that. Well, he done all the scenery work for the Cremorne Theatre and looked after the gardens. We lived there for about 4 years. Then Pop went to the war. And then when he went to the war, we boarded at a house in Merivale Street. There was a great big factory over the road from that, Massey Harris. They done all farm equipment. We lived there. Then when he come back from the war, my brother was born, Leslie, and then he was back from the war for a while, and we went down to Sydney. We went down by train, and we stayed in Uralla Street, Newtown in Sydney. He went down there to work with an auntie in a motor car factory. They had a motor car factory. We were there for 12 months, and the factory went bung. So we come back to Brisbane. Just before we went to Sydney, Tom was born, my second brother. He was born. We come back and we lived with my grandmother in Douglas Street, Toowong. And my grandmother died, and we went down to Clontarf. My grandfather had a house down well, it was an old house for those days, 70 years ago, and we lived in a tent and it's just where the Hornybrook Highway comes over. He had a fair piece of land there. We lived there for a while, and Pop was working at a bodybuilding place up in Stanley Street, South Brisbane. I was thinking the name of the street. He was there, and we got into a house. It was run by Mrs. Tyndall, a Salvation Army place. She let rooms. We lived up on the top of that. I was going to the South Brisbane School. And then we left from the South Brisbane School and rented a house in Hill End Terrace. It's Orley Terrace now, but it's Hill End, but it was Orley Terrace looking over the river. We were there, and then I started the West End School. And my brother Bill was born there. And then Pop bought the house at the corner of Forbes Street and Hill End Terrace. Well, he was a boat builder. He was the only one in Queensland that was making those rowing boats, 4 oars and sculls. Well, that's what he done, and I went to the West End School. Well, when I left school, I didn't go to work. I stayed home.
How old were you when you left school?
The day I turned 14, I left school. You could leave when you were 14, and I turned 14 today, and I left the next day.
You didn't like school?
No, I didn't like school. But there was too much homework to do. And I stayed home until I was about 16, I think it was.
What did you used to do through the day?
Help my mother in the house, and never went to work. And then when I was 18, friends of my auntie worked in the Windsor Hotel. It was run by Maguire's, and they wanted somebody to learn the bar trade. So I went I was only there for about 6 months. The Arcadia Hotel, just next to the old Theatre Royal. I was working there. I left that. I come home again. Didn't do any work.
Your father must have been fairly well off that you didn't have to work.
No, he wasn't well off. No. But there was no work around, and I used to just stay stay home. I used to go his messages for him and deliver his accounts to the Commercial Rowing Club, the Brisbane Rowing Club, GPS, the grammar school down in Mulberry Park. I used to do all his messages, go into Paul and Gray's for nails and varnish and everything like that. And then
Was it then that you met Grandpa?
no. Then I was 20. Yeah, no, I was 19. And I thought, well, I'd like to go and do some work. So looked up the paper and I went up to Tambourine Mountain to the Dr. Christina's Revette, Dr. Christine Revette's hotel. It was called, I forget the name of the hotel. Well, I was there waiting on the table, and Mrs. Barton, the manageress up there, I used to help her in the bar. And I was there about 12 months. I left there, I came home, and I done 3 months as a waitress down in the Grand Hotel, Southport.
Oh.
It was there, and I came home from there. Well, there was the 3 boys, and at home, Mother had a sister staying with her, or living with her. She was blind, and she used to stay home. And then I went from there. Oh, and Auntie Gladdy that worked at the Windsor Hotel, Mr. Hollis, who had a restaurant up there at Mancusa, he wanted somebody to go up there waiting on table. So I went up there, and that's where I met my husband, Bill, your grandfather. So that is all the work I've ever done in my life.
Oh, aside from being a slave to the house.
Oh yes, I used to do the cooking and look after my brothers. There was 3 brothers. Leslie, he was killed in the Navy. My other brother Tom, the Japs got him over Timor. And my other brother, I think he was in the army too, but he was the only surviving one out of the 3 of them. He got married and I think he lives at Newmarket. But we got married and we lived down with Bill's mother and father. Then we went to live in Musgrave Road. It's Musgrave Road. And we didn't have any furniture. In the house we were living.
We had a bed.
We had
3 chairs.
we had a bed and table in the kitchen, and sometimes we used to sit on boxes.
That's where we had visitors.
We sat on boxes. And when Colin was born, he was quite a good baby, and he used to vomit up everywhere. And when he was 6 months old, Mother said, we'd been to the doctors and they said he was getting overfed, and at any rate he wasn't getting overfed. I fed him when I wanted to feed him. Yes.
Okay.
And you'd give him anything to eat and he'd keep it down for a while, and he'd bring up the curd and keep the whey down. And I went down to Mrs. Saganto's place. She had a holiday. She was the manageress of Tambourine, and I went down there for a week, and he vomited all over her and everything. And I'd take him to Mother's place and put him on the floor, and he'd vomit all over there. So I took him into a Nurse McFarlane in the Strand building, and she said, he's got a hole in his chest. You can feel it. He was in the passage too long. I went into the hospital Saturday night. Well, he wasn't born until Monday night. Well, I had to bring him with instruments. And the Sister McFarlane was there, and it's only through her that he lived. They had to give him oxygen. He was that weak. He didn't cry for the first day, but he made up for it on Tuesday night. But she said it was the acid in me that he wasn't strong enough to keep it down. But she said when he got 6 months, he'd stop. And he did. The day he was 6 months old, he stopped vomiting.
Thank goodness.
Yes, oh. And then Billy was born. There's a year and 8 months between those two. And he was all right, and Ronnie was all right, and they were all right. But while we were living in Musgrave Road, Colin, Ronnie and Billy were born. Then we shifted from Musgrave Road. We went down to a house in Russell Terrace, just practically opposite the Indooroopilly School. Then we shifted from Russell Terrace, got into the house in Finney Road. And then from Finney Road, when we were in the house in Musgrave Road, that's how old that dining room suite is. It's as old as Billy.
Yeah.
Billy was born in the January, and Father bought that in the May. That's how old that dining room suite is.
Not an antique?
It is an antique. It's 52 years old.
Bill will hate me for saying that.
And then Shelley was born in Musgrave Road, in Finney Road. And then we went from Finney Road to Station Road. We're in Station Road. Leslie was born there 34 years. We lived in Finney Road, in Station Road.
And was it hard to make ends meet back in those days?
Very
With
hard,
those children?
very hard.
I suppose you had
Colin and Billy, to get money of a weekend or get pocket money, they used to go caddying at the Indooroopilly golf course.
That's the part I left out too.
They used to go there, and Colin even went around selling clothes props.
What are clothes props?
Oh, that's before your time. They had these great big clotheslines, and you had this big long branches of wood with a V. Sapling with a V.
With a V in the top.
And that's where the clothesline used to go in, and that's what you used to hold your clothes up in.
Oh, right, before the rotary clothes hoist.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yes, he went around selling them. And
So they weren't of much assistance finance-wise.
oh, no. No. And we're living on a pound and threepence a week. It was just as well I breastfed the babies. And the first year after Colin was born, seeing Bill was on the relief, they sent out a slip where the mother could go and buy herself a frock. So I bought myself a dress out of that. That's what they allowed the wife.
Oh, that was nice.
Oh, very nice. And then when the war was on, and people, they had the coupons for their food. A lot of people didn't use all the butter that was on the coupons and anything. They used to go around asking people did they want to buy them. Did they buy the coupons? And I remember when the brother Tom come home once, and I didn't have any tea because she didn't have the coupons. And I went up to the shop and I said to this Horry, Turnbull's had the shop, I said, look, I said, can I have £1/4 pound of tea? But I said, a bit of that coupon's torn. Do you know what he went and done? He opened the £1/4 pound and only gave me some because I couldn't give him the whole coupon.
Oh.
That's how bad things were.
And I suppose it wasn't like today where you go in and buy all the fast food. You had to cook everything. I suppose.
Oh, you had to cook everything. The only time we had a gas stove is when we went to Station Road. We only had the wooden stoves. Oh, they were good. Because once they got hot, you could heat things on the side of them or something in the oven, whereas you turn the gas off, well, the heat's all gone.
And did you used to make your own bread and things like that, or?
Well, there was a bread strike once, and I did make a few loaves of bread. I got some yeast. That's the only time I'd ever made bread. There was a bread strike on. Oh, when we were living down near the school, I did make some pickles and jam. I only made it twice. Some pickles and I had made marmalade jam.
But I mean, you weren't sort of self-sufficient in the sense of growing your own vegetables and making all your own, you know, jams and things.
No, the only time there was the vegetables grown was in Station in Musgrave Road. His father said he had this garden, and this weekend he went fishing. And I said, well, if you're going fishing, I'm going home to Mother's this weekend. And these people, Hegarty's, had a horse, and he used to put, and Bill had it all roped off the garden. And he used to bring his horse in there to eat the grass down. Oh, yes, it did. It come in and ate all his vegetables. Remember that? Come home, everything was down to the ground.
They were under the ground.
And the people next door to us said, oh, we saw the horse in, we thought you wanted to eat it all down. The horse trampled everything down, broke...
Well, he couldn't eat it, trample down. She was so savage.
Yeah, everything was laying all the horse. The horse had eaten it all down.
Gosh.
But then, well, today you can go and buy a pound of butter and that, but before you could go into, well, money-wise, you'd go and buy £1/4 pound of butter.
And what about clothes? Did you make all the family's clothes?
Yes. We didn't have a machine at first. Bill's brother, John, that worked at Thomas Brown's, he used to give him ends of material sometimes. And I used to make their pants and their coats by hand. We didn't have a machine.
Gosh.
And John gave some material once, and a lady over the road, a Mrs. Douglas, made me a costume out of it. It was blue. And then he gave him another nice, beautiful cutting. It was a yellowy, no, it wasn't, it was creamy kind of material. And a tailor down the road made Colin and Billy a pair of trousers. Gee, they were beautiful trousers. And we went to the Tivoli up in the roof garden. Some dirty things had stuck chewing gum on the seat and the kids had stuck on it. And you should have seen their lovely trousers.
What about when we was coming down the lift, some dirty bugger broke wind?
Oh, well,
But
but they and the kiddies used to go to they used to go to mass, Sunday school every Sunday, and they got a nice blue suit. Bill took them into Edwards and Lamb's and got them a nice little blue suit each. They used to go in.
What we had spare we spend on the kids.
But
They didn't go short. Not
but-
one of them.
I made all their clothes by that, and I've done all their knitting. I used to knit for them. I even knitted for some of the grandchildren. And then we got a treadle machine.
An old singer.
An old singer. I think
Work on.
Shelley has it.
Work on.
A singer, Shelley has it today.
They're quite valuable now.
Yes, she has it. And to tell the truth, they're better sewn than the electric ones. Because the electric ones, the cotton, the cotton breaks on them. And I've made dresses for myself. But
And what about toys for the children? Did you make things for them, like wooden toys?
oh yes, the Fire Brigade at Christmas, they used to make toys for the children, and they'd have a Christmas tree and a Santa Claus. And to this day, Shelley still has table and chairs that she got off a Christmas tree. And when Colin, tell you how hard up we were, Colin had a toy. Oh, it was a lovely toy. It was a golden syrup tin with a hole each end and a bit of wire. And he used to pull that along. That was his toy. It used to make wherever Colin went, he had this.
It was full of stones, and I had a rod for an axle. Then
Wherever he'd go.
Then a string.
He probably had it full of lollies.
Oh no, it was full of stones, and you could hear him. I used to go over to the butcher's at Mr. Penelligan, and he'd say, "Oh, not again," because on the road you could hear this going. And when we lived at Musgrave Road, the house at the back had some palings missing, and she said we could go through there over Moggle Road to the shop. There was over into Moggle Road into the shop. People, the Prides owned this shop. And one day I couldn't find Colin anywhere. Didn't know where he was. Do you know where he'd got to? He'd gone out the back fence, crossed over busy Moggle Road, and went into the shop and asked for an ice cream. And the boy, they gave him an ice cream, and the boy proud brought him home. But he'd got out this back, and he'd walked out. He was only 2 years old, and he'd crossed over busy Moggle Road.
And he's still got a sweet tooth.
and went for an ice cream. And then another time I bought him Prouds, the shop people. Easter, they had a raffle for an Easter egg, and I think it was a penny for a raffle. He had about 6. Sure enough, he won the Easter egg.
Oh, I bet he ate it all himself too.
Oh no, he wasn't greedy. Oh, I'll tell you what Colin did once. Billy used to scream, and he'd say Colin hurt him. And I'd look and I didn't see any marks. So he says to me one day, he says, "He bit me." And I thought, well, I'll take his clothes off. You should have seen the bite he had on his shoulder that Colin done. What did I do? I bit him back. And he never bit him after that. He used to bite.
I could believe that.
Yes, and Billy said he bit him, and he had this great big...
I'll have to call him Jaws when we
Yes,
come back.
he bit him. But,
You ready, Ross? Where did you used to go for your holidays?
Well, when we first went to holidays, we used to go down to Amity.
Where's that?
That's an island
down the mouth of the river.
out in Moreton Bay. Oh, we went down there year after year, a fortnight at a time. Used to do a lot of fishing. There's not much to see there. You could go for bushwalks and all that sort of thing. You could go for a swim, but you couldn't go out too far. You go out about 10 or 15 feet, then it'd go right deep into a channel. We used to catch a lot of fish in there, and one holiday we had down there, Shelley and her girlfriend,
Carol Ballard.
I don't to mention her name, Mum,
Mm.
came down, and Leslie, the three of them were playing on the sand. I just bought a new fishing line. The one I had was rotten, and while I was winding it on to my reel, I was from here to the middle of the road away, I suppose, sitting on a log seat, or a tree's cut down, they turned it into a seat. Had a back nailed on it, just like this, and Shelley and this Carol came up, and I said, "Where's Leslie?" Oh, she's down there playing. And I dropped everything down there. And if I hadn't have done what I had done, Leslie wouldn't have been here today.
She'd have been drowned.
She would have been drowned.
You couldn't put water on her head when you bathed her for ages after.
No.
Really?
Mm.
Did I give Shelley a smack of the ass?
Yeah, she...
I bet it's still stinging.
Yes, we were packing up to come home. You went down the boat, Hales's boat.
Hales'
cruise, and was packing up. And oh no, she was nearly gone.
And we got tired of Amity, and from then on we give
Calandra.
not Calandra, this side of the bridge, the other side of the bridge.
Redcliffe.
This
Scott's
side.
Point.
Scott's Point.
We went down there once.
We went down there twice, I think it was, and we got tired of that, and we went up to Cloundra year after year, year after year. Oh no, never missed out on holidays.
And what did you do up there? You went fishing, obviously.
Fishing, swimming, pictures, walks, oh you name it, we did it. Around to Golden Beach, it was about a mile and a half around, and never missed out on holidays.
It was only a bush tracks there was no road.
There's no road, not like this today.
We used to go along to Dicky Beach and Shelley's Beach.
Shelley's Beach, all those places.
You didn't go down to the Gold Coast at all?
Oh,
we
not
went
for years.
years after that. We went down to the Gold Coast year after year, year after year. I own the place, I think.
Where did you used to stay down there?
We stopped at Palm Beach. Oh, we went to Palm Beach for quite a long time.
What, at a unit or something? Or
Unit.
caravan?
Sometimes we had a house. Never had a unit down Palm Beach. We had houses because Colin used to come down there. Enid came down a couple of times. They all used to come down and visit us, and we left, give Palm Beach away, and then we went to Mermaid Beach. We went to Mermaid Beach for quite a number of years, didn't we?
Yes. We had a nice house in Palm Beach. It was privately owned. It was nice. But we had a flat upstairs. I can't think of the name of the flat on the main road. We went there a couple of times. And then this house we had.
The Pla.
Oh, it's still there, but
It's still there.
we went down there one year, and Tony and Shelley used to drive us down. They were married, and this year it was teeming rain, and Tony went up to bring Father back. Oh God, I don't know how he done it in the rain. Yeah, I can't think of the place. And then this other house we had, it was owned by a butcher. It was a very nice house. There, then we went from there. We went to Mermaid Beach and Nobby's Beach. I know we'd had some good holidays down there.
Never missed out. Took the kids for holidays. Never missed out. They didn't miss out on anything really, on the conditions of that particular time, you know. If I didn't make them a toy, I used to. Colin always wanted a bloody rubber kangaroo.
A rubber kangaroo.
Yeah, you blew it up.
Oh.
You
And
could
did
buy
you
them. You could buy them for 10 cents.
Tension.
These
That'd be
blown
better.
up.
Oh, eh?
And I went to town one day, and and he had a new pair of shoes on, and he wanted Daddy to see the shoes. So I told him what time I'd be walking town. So he poked his head out Grice's window, and Colin had this blown up. At this time it was a tiger. He had that blown up, and he pointed down to his shoes, and he was looking at Grice's window to have a look at them.
So Brisbane town has changed a bit since
Oh,
you were
yes.
young?
Oh, yes.
Then when we lived in Russell Terrace, there's a steep hill like that, you probably know it, and I made him a trolley between him and Billy. Oh, it's as long as this table, I suppose. And I'd greased the wheels up, proper axles and proper wheels, and a box on them. And I put a brake on it. When you get down the hill, you use that brake. And the bloody things, they went down there about 70 miles an hour. I thought they'd break their neck, you know, but they didn't. Oh, he might still have it, you know.
Oh, and then made another one when we were in Finney Road. You'd go down the road past the Methodist church, and Colin had Billy on the back of the trolley, and Mrs. Brownston come over with me. She said, I've bathed his face. You should have seen Billy's face. He'd hit the post.
Oh.
It was full of blood, and she took him in, she gave him a warm bath and brought him home. And then another time, I used to go home to my mother's every weekend, just for the day, the afternoon. This Saturday afternoon, Colin's downstairs, and they had beads hanging in the hallway, those curtains. And what did Colin do? Stuck a bead in his ear. You could see it, and you couldn't get it out. There was no way to get it out. So I took him to the doctor.
This time we was ready to go for holiday.
Oh.
And he couldn't get it out. So I took him to a Dr. Sherwood up the road, and he had to put him into the Ventnor Hospital to put him out so he could remove the bead. He'd stuck it in his ear. And then another time, Colin and Billy, or the three boys and Shelley, were playing Indians. And Shelley thought she'd be funny. And they were sticking things in their nose like Indians. What did she do? She stuck a peanut up her nose. And within minutes, Father was at work. And at minutes, her nose had all swollen up. And there was no bus to take her to the Children's Hospital. So I went down the road to Dr. Fothergill. And she's crying like anything. And his wife was cooking tea. I could smell the cabbage. And when he come in, he asked what was wrong. I told him. And he said to me, he said, oh, that's not a pea she's put in her nose, it's a plum seed. I said, that is a peanut. And sure enough, within that short time, it'd start to sprout. She'd stuck it up her nose and up here, and I tried to lay her down my arm, and it must have been she couldn't breathe or something, and she's crying in the surgery. He pulled out, he said, you are right. It was a peanut started to sprout, and I had to take him. And then another time, Ronnie, he hopped a fence to get a ball, and it was an old fence. We were in Finney Road, and he got a splinter in his bottom. You could feel it, but you couldn't see it. He had to go to the hospital, but they just gave him a local to take that out. Then when we were in Musgrave Road, we lived next to people called Edwards, and there was a little boy there, and they had an old rusty reaping hook, and he just went wham on Billy's leg. He's still got the mark on his leg today. So I had to carry him up to Taringa, and they had to stitch it, and it was Easter time, and Billy was saying while he was out to it, my daddy's going to bring me home such a lot of Easter eggs. And about 12 months after that, Bill's chopping grass in the yard, and what did he do? He goes and chops his arm with a reaping hook. Practically the same, 12 months exactly.
Yeah.
He chopped his arm.
Bloody arm right here somewhere.
Instead of chopping it that way, he brought it that way. He chopped his arm. But this little kid, he chopped his leg. He just said he wanted to do it.
So what were all the boys well behaved coming up?
Oh, very good.
We had no trouble with any of them.
You couldn't complain about any of them.
No trouble.
There's a story going around that when Colin and Billy were naughty, they were sent to the bush to get their own sticks to be spanked with.
He told you that.
Oh, he used to get it. With the stick, he was told to go over to the bush and get it.
That's probably why they were well behaved. They knew they'd get that stick.
And what happened when the stick wasn't big enough?
They get hit with a strap.
I ever think that I really did chastise them. Really,
Well, the threat
I used
must
to
have
threaten
been-
them.
The threat must have been there for them to be so well behaved.
They were old enough to wipe up the dishes. Colin had a tea towel and Billy had one. Colin used to growl at Billy because he'd wipe up a cup more than Billy, and Billy says, "I did not, there you are." Oh, God.
No, they
I
were...
used to make them do their homework. It's not that it did anything good, I don't think, but... no, not really. No, I didn't have any really bad.
No, there was never anything wrong with them. No, they were quite good kids. Only Colin had a bad fault. He still got it. He'd get in the bath and stay there for hours.
He must have thought he was dirty.
He'd be in the bath.
Oh, he was spotless. And when we'd Finney Road, before we had... we didn't have a hot water geyser when we first went there, and he'd be going out, and Billy'd be going out, and Ronnie'd be going out, and I used to boil the water on the gas stove, and all I'd hear was, "Mum, tell Colin to get out of the bath. You know I've got to go out." And then when the other one would go in, "Mum, tell him to get out of the bath." No, there was...
They were all very clean.
Oh, yes. No,
I'm the only grub.
there was... They were spotlessly clean.
Huh?
No. Ronnie liked playing football. Colin liked dancing and tennis. Colin used to go dancing and tennis. And Ronnie liked football.
Colin he was a good dancer. He was an instructor, I think.
He got a bronze medal.
Uh,
Didn't he ever tell you that? Old time dancing?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
That
yes.
must be where Graham gets the talent from.
Yes, he liked that. And you take Colin to the pictures. In those days, they used to have an orchestra sitting down the front. They called it the pit. And Colin would be there. And he'd be beating time to the people playing music there. Oh, yes.
yeah, when I wanted to go to the pictures, see Tom Mix or something, I had to sell 4 cartloads of horse manure, £3 a cartload. It was 6pence to go in, and I'd have 6pence to spend, and I thought, geez, I'm rich.
And what would you spend it on?
I used to buy lollies.
Oh, you'd get a bag. Oh, you'd get a bag of lollies for
Get a
6pence.
bag of lollies,
Really?
a big bag of lollies like that for 6.
You'd buy 4 caramels for a penny.
Sure.
And go into the
You
shop
go
and buy a
into-
bag of broken biscuits.
You go into a grocery shop that day and a penny worth or 3pence worth or 2pence worth of boiled lollies, they used to get half a sheet of paper and turn the end of it up like an ice cream cone.
Mm-hmm.
It might be about that long. You get that full.
Wow.
And when you used to buy your groceries, like a big amount, you used to get a packet of boiled lollies free.
Yeah.
Or else they'd give you a bag with some broken biscuits in. Oh yes, they used to give you the boiled lollies free, but they had Sambos lollies, 2 a penny.
What are Sambo's
A,
lollies?
oh, little oblong lolly, a black lolly like with licorice, 2 a penny. 4 caramels a penny. Must sticks 4 a penny. Oh, if you had threepence to spend, you were lucky. Well, the ice cream man used to come around the streets and you could go out and buy a penny ice cream. They had little teeny-weeny combs and you'd get about a teaspoonful of... Oh, no.
Now they're $1.
Yes, but I mean, those days, everyone didn't have fridges. Well, no one had fridges. You only had ice box. And to have an ice cream, that was a luxury.
Or things come a long way in those days.
Oh, things like that were luxuries.
Don't know anybody, anything, or anything like that.
The iceman used to come of a morning.
What I got, I have still got.
Leave the ice on the veranda. Oh no, there was. You got down on your hands and knees and scrubbed the floors. I still get on my hands and knees and wash the floors because I don't like mops. Oh no. Yeah.
We're very lucky now, that's for sure.
Well, I think that's why there's such a lot of sickness around.
Why?
People don't do the exercise. See, I mean, years ago there was no vacuum cleaners. Well, a lot of people didn't have carpet. You'd get down and you'd polish your floors with your hands. And, well, when we were first married, we boiled our washing in kerosene tins. I boiled in kerosene tins.
Your mum used to say they had a big old copper. They used to.
Yes, and they had a. Then we went from the Then we went from kerosene tins. When we could afford one, we got a copper, but we used to wash in kerosene tins. Boil them up, and you had a stick and put them in, and you got down on your hands and knees and you scrubbed the floors. Well, when we were first married in Musgrave Road, we didn't have electricity or gas or anything. We had candles or a lamp. A lot of people didn't have electricity or gas.
Light.
A kerosene light or candles. We didn't have any electricity.
I went and asked the landlord would connect up get the power on. He says, oh no, he says, you're only paying $7 and $6 a week rent. He says, I can't do that on that. He says, all you're in there for is to keep the rates down.
And then, when we did
It was good. There's no doubt about it.
Then when we did get the light on, we did get the light on at Musgrave Road at the very end, and the wire blew up. And we asked him to repair it. He said, that's not our place to repair, it's yours. So when that was the case, we shifted from there and went down there near the school. But we only had candles and washing the kerosene tin.
Well, we're very sport now, that's for sure.
Oh, yes. But oh no, it was good.
When I come out of my time, the wages was £5, 7 and 6. Well, Parlings was such a good firm. Christmas time, they used to give you a bonus of a week's wages. Well, as I said, the wages was £5, 7 and 6. Instead of giving you £5, 7 and 6, they used to gave the likes of me, and not only me, but the rest of the polishers and tuners brought up to the £5.10.
No, I think the problem with people today is so many of them.
Good morning. And there used to be a fruit shop at the corner of Ann Street and George Street called Aussie Fruit Stall. What's those girls from West End? They used to work there. They were singers, or were supposed to be.
Oh, I can't think.
But anyway, I used to go in there with a big port and a sugar bag. I'd fill my port up full of fruit and I'd buy a pumpkin, a dozen or half a dozen carrots, some turnips and a cabbage or something like that. And I used to come home with a bus full for about £6 bob.
Oh, yes, but you could go and buy 2 shillings worth of mixed fruit.
Remember one time my mother sent me up to Lisk, the butcher's, that's where Penelli's used to be, for a leg of mutton and 2 pound of sausages. She gave me 3 bob. I said, Mum, will that be enough? She says, do as you're told, of course it will. Now get going, I want it for your Father's Day. So I went up to the butcher's, a lump of suet too. She used to make these great big dumplings, you know, rolled up in a rag, lemon peel in them. Anyway, I went up there and got this leg of mutton, a big lump of suet and 2 pound of sausages, 2 and 9pence.
You could go in the butcher's once and buy a meat tray.
He gave me 3 pennies change and I hurried home to get for these sausages to be cooked for the old man's tea, and I lost a penny and I got a belt in the bloody ear, said you spent it. I didn't spend it at all. I wasn't going.
You could go to the butcher's and buy a meat tray for 50 cents. Bit of everything on it.
You just shows you the difference between then and these days. The last barbecue I put on here cost me $150. Meat and all that sort of stuff.
You'd buy a pack of cigarettes for 6pence.
Yeah. Get a pot of beer for 4pence. A big pot like that with a handle on it.
Did you used to go to the pub much?
Pub?
Yeah.
I had no money. No, the pub and the racehorses and billiard rooms I kept away from. And the only time I went to billiard rooms was when I was in the fire brigade. Because I used to run the billiards and snooker when I was at Ithaca. I used to play Keating's Bakery, the university, the Irish Club, the tramways.
You used to be quite good at billiards.
What's that?
Didn't you used to be quite good at billiards?
Oh, I used to beat some, but some beat more than I beat them. I used to wallop the arse off Graham, but I can't now. What else you want to know?
Okay.
Well, I used to go down to the Labour Brew to get a job. You used to hand your book in, and used to be stamped every Wednesday. That lets you know that you weren't working. And if they called your name, you knew you had a job. And if they didn't call your name, you'd go to this tray and pick up your book. No work. So I called my name out one day, 3 months' work at the Kangaroo Point Quarry. And that's below the big cliff. And boy, did you work there. And I got on the pick and shovel for the first week, and I graduated from there onto a jumper. What you call a jumper is a great big steel bar with a sharp edge. And you start off a hole in the ground, you used to pull it up, you know, on the face of the cliff about 6 foot back. I used to bore about 6 of these holes right along the face of the wall to dynamite it, you know. And I was on that for about a fortnight, and I had rows of corns along my hand here. And I said to my mate, there's 2 of us on this bar, it was about 18 feet long. I said, geez, I can't lift this up. He says, look at my hands. He says, Jesus. He says, do what I do. He says, go and pee on them. He says, they make the corns hard. And he says, pee on them both and rub them together. And I did that for 3 or 4 days. Well, Karen and I had a row of corn along there, like the Great Dividing Range, on both hands. Hard as nails they were. So shifted from there, the gang has shifted from there down to Spalling. Yeah, these great big bowlers, be about 5 times bigger than the TV. They could be long, they could be round, they could be any shape at all. Well, you had to spoil them that way, which you'd break a piece off. It might be that round, it might be that thick. You tap it right around hard. So when it comes to the last one, this piece you're tapping used to fall off. Well, they used to put them on a great big barge and take them along the river bank. You see where the bricks along the river bank? Well, they all come from the Kangaroo Point Quarry. So anyway, one particular day, this ganger got stuck into some bloke for not working, and the poor bugger, he couldn't really work. He was as thin as a match, and he was on pick and shovel. That's all he could do. He couldn't lift up this jumper or use a 7-pound hammer all day, and he got into him, and he threatened to sack him. So there was about 40 there. They ganged up on him. They said, "You sack him," he says, "and you're going to go in the river." So anyway, he says he sacked. They all got onto him and threw him in the river all right. Oh, that he did. That was a chap named Poynton.
Did he die?
No, he didn't die. He swam out the side. Come out there. Up. I wasn't in it at all. I took that part. There are days of real sport. I'm afraid, Ross, you've worn me out.
Okay, can you just explain that photo?
Explain who they are on the
Tell
photo.
us.
That's my father and mother. Well, my father and mother, my eldest brother sitting down on your left of the picture. That's me standing behind him. That's my little sister. And on the other end, that's my brother has died about, how old, 14 years ago, Mum?
John,
Yeah.
18 years ago.
18 years ago. He's not with us anymore.
Explain that one.
Father and mother, my eldest brother, my second eldest brother is in front of my father. That's Uncle John carrying the holding a cat, and that's me in front of my mother.
And what's the tent?
That's our home, first home in Australia.
Russell Terrace.
Say that one again. Explain that one again.
That's my mother.
How old?
She's 21 when that was taken.
Okay, just say this one again.
That's my second eldest brother. The one was drowned in Rapilli.
Explain that one.
That was me taking outside the Ithaca Fire Station at Nana Terrace, Red Hill.
Explain that one.
That's in Ann Street, coming down the long ladder, car 14. That ladder is about 95 feet high, fully extended. That is a display for the American firemen that were here during the war.
Okay, explain that one.
What one is that? Oh, that's myself and two of my mates taken outside the Ithaca Fire Station in our war turnout clothes. My two mates are dead now.
Explain that one.
We're on holidays there now. That's myself, Doreen, and his wife's name's Doreen, and that's my mate Kev Sullivan. That's the kiddies in front.
And where was that?
Clownborough.
Explain that one.
Which one is that?
Okay.
Oh, that's Prince the dog. Ronnie's holding him. Billy's on the right of the picture, and that's Colin, the tall one of the three.
Okay, explain that one.
That is the crew of two cars on parade for Yanks to take the photo of it, or pictures, or whatever you like to call it. Yeah.
Explain this one.
What one is that?
Your Navy.
Silent Sea.
Oh, that was me when I was in the Naval Reserves.
How old?
How old? Oh, I'd be around about 19 or 20 there.
Engine one.
That's a new fire engine. The new Mac, one of the new Macs.
And what year is that?
What's year? Oh, around about 33 or 4, I think.